What would happen if your company could only lean on 4 marketing and business development techniques for the rest of the year? What would you choose? The power's in your hands. In today's episode of Spiraling Up, we are going to go full Rushmore in picking our 4 favorite marketing and business development techniques for the rest of the year. And we're going to use our data and our experience to make these selections. Along the way, we'll have to explain our decisions and why we think these are the most impactful marketing techniques for this year. Who's going to end up with the best mountain? You can be the judge and you can play along with us. Welcome everyone. This is Spiraling Up with Hinge. Welcome everyone to Spiraling Up, the podcast for professional services marketers and business leaders. My name is Austin, and as always, I am joined by my brilliant, terrific, awesome colleagues and co-hosts, Mary Blanche Kramer.
Hey, Austin, it is a beautiful rainy day here in Virginia.
Wow, I love that. Joined
Beautiful,
also
rainy.
by Joe Pope. What's up, Joe? Is it also beautiful and rainy where you are?
Also, Virginia. Also, I love weather. So, frankly, anytime we can discuss weather, whether it's at the start of a Zoom or just in back and forth banter, I'm here for it. So, while I think Mary Blanche might have been tongue in cheek with beautiful and rainy, I appreciate a beautiful rainstorm.
Love it. Well, I appreciate our listeners who are once again joining us for another great episode of Spiraling Up. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Leave us a comment. We don't get enough comments. It makes me sad. We want more comments from our listeners. So let us know what stands out to you. Today, we're going to be playing a great game where you're going to get to play along. We're going to be going through various marketing techniques that we all deal with and plan and strategize around throughout the year. And we're going to be talking about those in regards to marketing impact. We have a terrific guest joining us. But Joe, Mary Blanche, I know that next week conference season is kicking off. The two of you guys landed a closing keynote presentation where you're going to be bringing the Spiraling Up podcast live to the stage. Tell us about what's happening.
I have no idea how the SMPS Southeast Regional Conference decided that the Spiraling Up podcast was the appropriate closing keynote, but hey, we are 1 for 1 in putting Spiraling Up as an option for conferences. And this is a bit of us drinking our own Kool-Aid, frankly. Or the high growth study came out in the past 2 years. We've seen a significant upward trend in conferences being an impactful tactic, trying to especially wrap visible expertise. And nothing is more visible than parking your boy on a stool. I don't know. We haven't figured out what the furniture setup is yet. I got to talk to the Hilton.
Possibly a couch.
Something.
We're hoping for
a
a couch.
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever we can frankly carry into there. I mean, and whatever Mary Blanche points at in the lobby and says, we're going to sit on this, and then I'm just going to pick it up and carry it in there. But you are parking your boy and your girl on stage, being visible and talking about all things high growth, all things professional development. We even have a special surprise guest joining us as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And our special guest, putting him on the hot seat. There's going to be some learning, some fun, some games per our podcast usual, and also some motivational growth type topics. So it's a little bit of everything, and we're super excited about it.
Well, I'm really excited for you guys. A little bit bummed that I won't be a part of it. You guys are going to be doing the live podcast show without me, but it's not the first time. You guys have done a good job without me in the past, so I know you guys are going to do great. And yeah, we got more conferences. We're going to be at the AAM Summit in May. Won't be a live podcast, but I mean, maybe we'll do a live podcast from the floor there. But I'll be speaking on a session about getting your subject matter experts more involved in your marketing. I'm really looking forward to that. Without further ado, our guest is here and she is ready to go. I am so excited for this segment. We're going to just talk straight marketing techniques, tactics. It's going to be practical. It's going to be helpful. I hope you, the audience, will enjoy this. Play along with us, and let's start the segment.
Hold up there, partner. We can't jump straight into our segment without talking about something extremely important. And since today we are talking about tactics, growth trajectories, everything under the sun involving data, there is one thing you need on your desk to make sure that you are maximizing 2026. Mary Blanche, do you know what it is?
It's the high growth study, Joe. Duh.
Of course it's the high growth study. It is packed with insights from what works, what doesn't, and what can provide you with everything you need to be plugged in and ready to take on 2026 and beyond. You can actually get your copy of the High Growth Study at which URL, Austin?
You can get it for free, this 40-page insight-packed report at hingemarketing.com/HGS. If you're listening to this podcast and you still haven't read the High Growth Study, what are you doing? Go get it. hingemarketing.com/HGS. All right, so in today's segment, we are talking about real life marketing tactics, which is why we are honored to be joined by the VP of Marketing at Vertex, Dawn Hancock. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's run of applause. Yeah.
Dawn has spent, in her words, 98% of her career in professional services. She's a CPA, but now she's VP of Marketing. So, Dawn, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you and kind of your experience in professional services marketing?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you. And so, yes, I've spent 98% of my career in professional services. I got started in professional services in the Big Four. And as Austin said, I was actually client-facing in public accounting. So I am a CPA. I still do have my license. I don't practice anymore, thank God. I did it for a couple years. And, I never saw the light of day. I never saw my friends and family. And it was also incredibly boring. And so I realized that it was just not for me. And so I transitioned from client-facing into marketing and sales-focused roles within the Big Four. And I double majored in entrepreneurship, which was all about go-to-market and all of that. But I think having served clients, I had a really unique point of view when it came to actually marketing and selling professional services because I've been on the ground. I understood what clients needed, what they were looking for. And I think it's my secret sauce. That's what makes me a true unicorn, I think. But I spent most of my career at the very large firms, the Big Four firms. And I've been with Vertex now for a little over 6 months and was brought in to build a true strategy-first marketing program. And so, of course, one of my first phone calls, panicked on a Friday, my first couple of weeks was Joe.
People panic and call me in the afternoon on Fridays. It's kind of a calling card of mine.
Yeah. I mean, when we're in trouble, like, who are you going to call? Joe. That's who you're going to call. But yes, I'm thrilled to be here. And I feel like I bring a pretty broad perspective when it comes to tactically what the big firms do and tactically what the small firms do.
One of the things we thought about when we were making this episode up was that when people are debating the idea of what tactic rocks and which one doesn't, what element you want to focus on as part of a strategy or what doesn't make as much sense, it opens itself up for some fun commentary. And Dawn, frankly, of all of our clients, every person we talk to, color commentary is your skill set. So we're hoping that translates well for an entertaining podcast. Really, thank you so much for volunteering to be our our guest today. And I'm hopeful that the audience agrees by the end of this one.
Well, I've got a surprise for us today. So we've already let the audience know a little bit about the segment we're doing today. The main event, we're calling it Marketing Mount Rushmore. Our team did such a great job pulling this together for us. For those of you watching on YouTube, you're going to enjoy this. If you're a listener, you might need to check it out because we have a hilarious graphic here that we're going to use to track our picks today. So what are we doing? We're not just going to list our favorite marketing techniques. We're going to do this in the style of a sports draft. We're all going to take turns drafting 4 essential marketing techniques that deserve a permanent spot in our professional services marketing monument. And the way that the rules work is that once a tactic is off the board, it's gone. No duplicates, no safety nets. Every pick is got to be defended with a strategic why. Why do we pick it? And we're going to be choosing from the over 30 techniques from our high growth study. So here we are, marketing Mount Rushmore. Dawn, we're going to give you the first pick as our honored guest. How happy or satisfied are you with your picture up there on our stone monument?
Well, first of all, it's been my dream to have my face on a mountain. So this is incredible. This is obviously my next tattoo as well, because this is the most iconic image I've ever seen. And as I said when we were all in the green room, I am all for replacing crusty racist white men with literally anything, but replacing them with something that I am very passionate about, like marketing. This is
yourself.
Oh, that too. But having the crossover episode between, swapping out the racists with Marketing, I didn't know I needed this. So this is going to be therapeutic. I'm obsessed with this concept.
So let's dive in here. Dawn, you have the first pick. So, I mean, over 30 possible marketing techniques on the board here. So, I mean, kind of a big spot for you here. Lots of pressure for you in your role at Vertex and your expansive history through professional services marketing. What's your number one pick in this spot here?
So my first pick is going to be speaking at conferences and events. When you're in professional services, you are ultimately selling expertise, right? And we put our expertise on display through multiple channels, multiple forums, but almost none of them take advantage of a captive audience. But when you're speaking at an event, the people are in the room. Hopefully they're paying attention if you have a speaker that's engaging and knows what they're doing and understands crowd work and isn't boring and dry. This is your expertise on full display for a captive audience. Hopefully it's the right audience. And it really doesn't get much better than this when it comes to sharing your expertise.
I'm pretty jealous because that was going to be my first pick. You got me, Dawn. But it's the cornerstone of our visible expert model. I think it's a great choice. And anytime you're speaking at events, it really helps bridge the gap between that offline expertise and that online visibility.
Dawn, when you are working with an expert who lands one of these speaking opportunities, what are some of the things that from like you as the head of marketing will try to equip them with so that they make the most out of their speaking engagement? I know sometimes these conferences are like very technical. Some of them could be even like quite academic. How do we approach these experts who maybe are more technical and academic oriented to still think of a speaking opportunity as a marketing opportunity?
So for me, I'm used to working with very technical folks, right? So there's a lot of accountants, there's a lot of consultants. At Vertex, I worked with a lot of engineers and expert witnesses. And so these are very technical folks. I found that something that really helps to kind of loosen up some of that technical energy is telling personal stories about things that they've encountered in the field. And it helps to bring their expertise to life. And everybody likes talking about themselves, right? So it kind of gets them out of the technical jargon type stuff and they can talk about themselves. And it helps to loosen them up a little bit. And it also contextualizes their expertise in kind of a memorable soundbite that I think is a good way for the audience to have something that they can take away and remember from the presentation versus just kind of a technical stream of consciousness, if you will.
Yeah. So Dawn, behind the scenes update here, Mary Blanche and I are delivering a keynote next week. If you were to give us one piece of advice of how we rock the stage, what would it be?
I think that it would be to be yourself because authenticity is, I think, the most important thing. Now, Joe, I might make an exception for you. Maybe like
I don't know about this. It's a bad idea.
I think when you're authentic, there is a certain energy when you're in the room or when you're giving a keynote that is that intangible thing.
Sure.
And I try to get people into that intangible space by talking about themselves. And part of why I think that helps to drive that is because it helps them to be authentic. It grounds them in something that they're familiar with. It grounds them in who they are and the expertise that they bring in a real world example. And I think that when you just get in a room and you rattle off a bunch of technical stuff, it can get boring really quick. And if you don't have that personality that's attached to it, I think you lose the ability to capture the attention of the audience. So I would say be yourself, but Joe, like maybe at 50%, just so we don't alienate anyone.
Just tone it down so I don't end up canceled or worse.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, Don.
I love the first pick. That's a strong first pick. And apparently you stole Mary Blanche's. So let's see how Mary Blanche pivots here. Second pick, Mary Blanche, you're up.
Okay, so I'm actually going to completely pivot from the conference world in my next pick. And this one might surprise y'all a little bit, but I've been really trying to push this internally this year, but it's promoting thought leadership on social media. So this year, we've seen a pretty significant strategic shift from content production to content promotion. And it's just not enough anymore to have smart ideas. You need to have your experts be visible where your audience lives. And they're on social media, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Instagram. So high growth firms, they're 2.5 times more likely to have highly active experts who use social media platforms to build authentic trust. So looking at the report from this year, the data really speaks for itself on this one.
Absolutely. The visible expert angle is just so obvious in everything that we've seen, especially over the last few years in terms of our research. it's what, 2.5 times, I think, right? High growth organizations are going to likely to involve visible experts as part of their larger strategy. That authenticity piece, Dawn, that you were just talking about, being in person as well. I mean, if you're using your social media to be authentic, which also means that you can't just plug it into Gemini and have it do it for you. That's bullshit. I want to read updates on why Taylor Swift can be perfectly tied into B2B sales. People can be more effective. That is the type of content I'm looking for social media. But I mean, if you tie it back to something that's really insightful, something that really brings in some true insight towards what data makes a difference, what success looks like, how you can solve a challenge, all that type of thing is a great way to just make great, strong connections and can help you stand out in what is an AI junk-filled world.
I give a lot of LinkedIn trainings to our clients, and one of the reasons I like this pick so much, Mary Blanche, is because the thought leadership angle to this doesn't mean that people have to all just go on there and post a bunch of times per week on LinkedIn. Some people will and some people can, but not everybody's comfortable using social media that way. Most of our experts don't log into LinkedIn more than, a couple times per month. The biggest shift I try to encourage or train people to make in the LinkedIn space specifically is to go out there and engage with other people's content, right? If there's other industry leaders, peers, or even like your own clients and prospects, like you can get a ton of value from using LinkedIn just by building relationships on the platform. You don't see somebody in person every week or every month, even sometimes, every year, but you can maintain a relationship with someone on social media simply by engaging with them naturally and organically in the kinds of things that they share and post. Dawn, what do you see as kind of the biggest barrier to overcome in trying to help your team, maybe from a BD's perspective, like adopt more of a proactive use of something like LinkedIn?
I think some of it is just they don't understand the platform. Some of it is just technical. But I think beyond that, there is a reticence to adopt social media simply because they don't know exactly how to do it. They don't know how to make their posts engaging. They don't understand really what you even should be talking about on social media. And I get it, they're not marketers, right? They shouldn't necessarily understand that. And that's where I think a marketing function can add a lot of value by helping to frame, especially with your experts in your area of expertise, whatever that is. We're experts in how we take that expertise and package it in a compelling way for the market. And Mary Blanche, this was one of my picks. So you're my arch nemesis now in this game. But this is one of the channels that we do this through, right? It's taking that expertise and packaging it in a resonant way. And I think, we all know that marketing is not really a field of dreams. It's not like if you build it, they will come. So you have to invite them. And part of how you invite them is actually engaging with people through posting on your channels, through posting on other people's channels, and bringing that authenticity. Because ultimately, when you're selling, we're just people talking to people.
That's right.
Yeah. We forget that, right? Like these are just people, and we forget some of just the natural, organic ways that we should be interacting. It just happens to be in a digital platform.
All right, I've got the next pick, and I'm going to go with something. When I look at the high growth study, I have seen a trend of one technique that every year is just creeping up the leaderboard in terms of adoption and marketing impact. And that's going to be with marketing video and like video blogging, those kinds of things. I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of digital marketers are dealing with right now is that it is never been harder than right now to actually break through and capture somebody's attention across all digital channels. Social media, we were just talking about that. I mean, if you think about your corporate profile, profile views are down, less people are engaging with your company profile. The algorithm has just kind of completely tanked that. And then similarly, in like the search engine space, Google and these other search engine platforms, they have started cluttering these pages with ads and AI overviews, which even if you had like really strong search engine like pages, the likelihood that people are clicking through to your website right now is like gone down. One of the hacks, if there is a hack, I'm not really a believer in hacks. If there is a like way to kind of finesse this situation, I think it's through video. I think video is still one of these areas where not a lot of professional services firms have fully adopted integrating video into their content strategy, into their thought leadership strategy. And the best part about it is that once you start recording video with your experts, it can really be placed everywhere. It can go on social media, have its own kind of life, and grow visibility organically on YouTube. You put it on your website, attach it to blog posts. There's so many use cases in developing video strategy, and I think that right now it's something I'm advising a lot of our clients to think about. Oh, and by the way, apparently AI loves video content. So
Apparently.
for all those reasons, I'm going with video. Anybody want to pick apart my selection?
I think the authenticity word, which has been a reoccurring theme on this podcast for a few episodes in a row now, is the key here. And while certainly Nano Banana and all these tools are making more and more attempts at trying to make something that's authentic from a video perspective in the AI world, what it comes down to is professional service is all about trust. And if you could see someone and listen to them talk, you're more likely to trust them. You're more likely to believe what they have to say, that it was actually something original, for example. Right? Whereas nowadays, when you read something on a website, online, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called, you're not even sure. Like, is this something that truly was original thought, or was it just churned out by ChatGPT? So I think the video angle is key in 2026 and beyond.
What I love about all three of these picks so far, you've heard the words trust and authenticity shine through in each of these. Great picks all around. So yeah, Austin, good one.
All right. Cool. Joe, you're up to close out the first round here. What are you going to go with?
So I think part of how we're going to look at this entire board at the end is how does your 4 tactics kind of play with each other and trying to make sure that we don't leave a gap. Well, one way to not leave a gap is to offer live service and product demonstrations as a part of your larger marketing strategy. And this also plays on the trust and the authenticity piece. And it is also something that we constantly see show up in the high growth study as a higher tactic. A lot of people think, oh, well, that's truly a sales piece. Well, professional services comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. You have your seller doers, you have your pro sales folks, neither of which I am. So there's also folks where, a part of their role is to just make good, strong connections. And a great way to make a strong connection is to help explain what your future client is going to receive when they work with you. And there's a variety of ways you can do that. You can walk them through previous deliverables or sanitized deliverables. You can help answer specific questions of how their challenges might get solved using your organization's solutions or differentiators. So by providing the live aspect where we get people on a Zoom or even sometimes in person, you're creating that connection that helps them make that final buying decision that it follows all those marketing efforts and pieces that came before it.
Yeah, I guess not surprising that, with your role in an area of expertise that you went kind of bottom of the funnel tactic here. I'll throw it over to Dawn. Dawn, in your experience as a marketer, how have you tried to set up these kinds of live demos or this is also very closely associated with another area on the board here, which I think we call assessments and consultations. We're not going to give Joe both here unless he steals both at the end of the next round. I'm just wondering from a marketing perspective, like a call to action strategy, what have you seen work in terms of appealing to prospects who might be a little bit further down in the marketing funnel and trying to get a conversation started?
Yeah, and no one better take the providing free assessments because, it might be on my list as one of my preferred tactics. So no one better take that. But I think that this is a really powerful way of approaching a client or a prospective client because it helps to put the client can see themselves in your story. So when you're going to market with your content, you're telling a story. And as Joe said, you're ultimately building trust, right? And you're talking about the value that you can bring. And it should, if you're doing this strategically, it should align around the pain points or the issues that your clients and prospects are facing, right? But when they're sort of seeing it in theory as they are interacting with your content, but then when they're able to actually see it all the way down to this is what it looks like, they can actually see themselves in your story. And it's like a mirror moment, right? It's like you're reflecting to them, hey, we've been talking about the value we can bring, but now we bring it all the way home and they can see themselves. And then they're like, oh, I want that. I need that. And it can be a really compelling way to kind of close the sale, especially. So obviously no surprise that Joe would emphasize that bottom of the funnel. But I mean, this is where the kind of rubber meets the road, right? It's like where everything we're doing ultimately converts. And this is, in my experience, a very powerful conversion moment.
Mirroring, it's so important. It's like a therapy session, except they pay you at the end.
Yeah, and you just usually don't talk about your trauma in these contexts, but other than that, yeah, definitely a therapy moment.
This is why I have to dial my authenticity down 50%.
Exactly. We don't scare people.
All right. Well, we are not doing a snake draft. This is not fantasy football. Yeah, no. It's back to the top of the lineup. So, Dawn, you get the next pick here.
Okay, so I'm going to go with downloadable gated content here because I think that, as I was just saying, which I sort of perfectly segued myself, but if you're offering valuable content across, your speaking engagements, as we spoke about at the top of the pod, across your social media, which we discussed, then people are ultimately eventually going to take the action that you want them to take, which is to go to your website and ultimately, download ideally a gated piece of content. And I think that the key here with your content and with your gated content, of course, is that none of this can be empty calories, right? Like this has to be actually substantive, meaty, value add, problem solving, issues oriented content that is meaningful to your clients and your prospects. But the reason why I love the downloadable content is because this is the first time that you kind of get something back from your audience, right? So you're giving them this content in all your different channels. And then if you're doing it right, they come to your website, they take this action, and then you have permission to engage with them going forward. You have permission to engage with them in the future. And you can, of course, put them on your email newsletter list. You can connect with them, make sure, hopefully you have a strong segmentation. You understand sort of how they got there, what issues are relevant to them. So the content that you're pushing to them is strategic and aligned with their issues. This is something that I really love and that I think can be very powerful for clients and prospects, because if you're solving their problems before they've given you any money, all they've given you is their attention currency, then you're appropriately bringing them through the funnel, but you're positioning yourself as that strategic partner. And that's what's going to ultimately drive long-term client relationships, especially in professional services.
And I would underscore there what you said about the quality, like making sure that what you offer in the form of like downloadable content is truly helpful and relevant to the people downloading it. I'm certainly beginning to see a trend where it looks like people, marketers specifically, are getting apprehensive about gating high quality content and just making it open access. I think that ties back to what I was saying before about how capturing someone's attention right now is so hard. And I think that the easy route that a lot of marketers are trying to do is like, okay, well, I'm just not going to get anything on my website anymore, and we're just going to give everything out for free, hoping that that turns into more marketing, like positive marketing energy. But for all the reasons you mentioned, Dawn, I don't think inbound marketing in general, inbound content marketing is dead by any stretch of the imagination. I think the hardest piece is capturing that intention in the first place. I have seen no data yet that suggests that people aren't willing to give a name and an email address for something that they truly find will be helpful. And yeah, as you mentioned, for the value of tracking and nurturing relationships and understanding what clients' issues are, what they're interested in, I think that gated content's a fantastic selection.
On gated content because it helps to prove the value of what preceded it in the marketing funnel, right? So when we, as an organization that focuses on marketing, have to help our clients really see how their funnel is performing, gated content is a key conversion point that allows you to really see how your visitors and prospects are turning into MQLs and SQLs, what sort of potential there's going to be to generate and move them forward. So, I mean, there's no reason why you can't reuse gated content in a way where you're perhaps parsing it out and keeping it as smaller thoughts that don't really truly give away the whole farm that you're providing in that guide, for example, or maybe research report. And I didn't want to say research because I know that that's going to be one that gets picked at some point in this draft. But that is, are you clearing your throat because you're going to pick that, Austin?
No.
Foreshadowing.
This is not rigged, I swear.
I don't want MB to snipe my pick.
Well, no,
Wow.
it's out there. Too bad.
It might be a good transition into our into my pick, which in fact is conducting and publishing original.
Damn
research.
it.
Sorry, Austin.
Wow. Sorry, Austin. Did not mean to do
Austin.
that. I'm just going to stop talking and let Mary Blanche explain.
Okay, so for this one, I mean, there's nothing that builds authority faster than owning the data, right? So it makes your firm not just a primary source for your prospects, but for the media at large. And so, I mean, talk about an ultimate differentiator, right? So while your competitors are out there sharing their opinions, you instead are sharing facts that help clients actually solve their business challenges. So, yep, I'm going to take that and slide that into my number 2 spot.
Sorry, Austin.
Yeah, seriously. No, that's a great pick. It's really hard to stand out with content right now. And I think that the value of informational content is quickly approaching the horizon of zero, because all that information is now available through large language models. And if people want to learn about a topic, large language model has already gone and stolen all of our content and is regurgitating it to people on demand. So a way to enter the marketplace with an original voice and, like you said, authority, is to do kind of your own proprietary research. It gives you data that only you can speak about. It arms your experts with like a central piece of content that they can always go back to and reference. There's just so many benefits to having original research on hand.
I think that when you take some of the burden of producing content actually off of your experts and you conduct original research for all the reasons that Mary Blanche just outlined, which I completely agree with. It's such a differentiator and it's not replicable, right? Unless someone literally does the exact same study or research that you do, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to replicate what you've put out there. And so it's such a clear way of differentiating your content strategy. And to Joe's point, it can really help to streamline the content creation process because you can lean a little less heavily on your experts themselves while still creating something that's relevant to and exists within their ecosystem of expertise. So it's kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to content creation.
Amen. Amen. All right, Austin, what are you going to do now that you lost your baby?
Oh, it's a hard choice now. I do still want to pick something that is, it seems like we're kind of second row here, thinking like middle of the funnel. How do we nurture people? I'm going to go with an email newsletter. I see, if there's one area in digital marketing where I see the widest discrepancy in terms of how this tactic could be interpreted or employed, it's probably an email newsletter. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about, and I'll draw some contrast to some of the things I see out there. I'm thinking about a newsletter that is centralized, sometimes attached specifically to one or maybe a group of subject matter experts. And it is written specifically as a thought leadership forward newsletter with articles that clearly takes a stance, takes a perspective for a certain industry on a certain topic, and it is consistent. For example, at Hinge, we have a newsletter that comes out from our managing partner, Liz Haar, every Friday, and it is a substantive article about and around everything professional services marketing. It's consistent, it's to the point, and we can repurpose it. It goes up on LinkedIn. Oftentimes they are rewritten, published on our website. I think it is an excellent tactic. What I don't mean by an e-newsletter is just kind of a summary of everything happening at the company, like some news articles, some press releases, some upcoming events. That, I think, had its time. And for a lot of companies where their email list is centered around or built around their existing customer base, I think there is a role for that kind of like content structure, communications and stuff. But I'm thinking of a newsletter as almost a separate campaign, like something that's built, it's delivered consistently. And then other email things can be going on too. I think there is like other categories that we could choose from that involve email. This is specifically like a newsletter piece. And so if I've already picked video, what would like my call to action be at the end of my videos? Hey, subscribe to my newsletter. Something like that. That's kind of where I'm going with my 1-2 selection.
Or reverse, you in your newsletter shout out your video content and help drive people to those pages, which hopefully will then drive additional algorithm love from the YouTubes of the world.
You're making a strong case for why I have the best combo so far.
I was going to make a pivot joke and saying great pivot there, Austin, and hope that pun of Hinge's newsletter came through. If you're paying attention, that's the name of Hinge's newsletter, pivot. All right. So anyways, my turn.
Yeah.
Wait,
Go ahead, Joe.
can I say something about this?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Dawn, you can interrupt me.
I love this pick. And I just wanted to say that the comment about it not being just a roundup of company news, something that I see a lot, especially in expert-driven professional services, is we design our marketing for ourselves. We are like marketing to ourselves in our content. We're talking to ourselves. Our websites are oriented around us, how we think about issues, how we talk about things. And I think the newsletter is one place where this comes into play, because if you're just sending a roundup of company news, literally, who gives a f? Why is that relevant at all? It is not relevant. Your clients are not sitting there thinking, God, I wonder what's going on with Hinge. I wonder what's going on with Vertex. Nobody is thinking about that because nobody gives a shit about that. They're thinking about their issues. Their issues are keeping them up at night. And so your newsletter, every touch point, but especially in newsletter, because newsletters are really nice because they go directly to the individual, right? Directly to their inbox. For people that are busy like me, running around with my hair on fire 24/7, it's really the only way to sort of catch me, other than maybe a text message. But if you are actually solving an issue instead of just talking about yourself, that is how you're going to add value and demonstrate that you are a trustworthy partner for that client going forward.
You heard it here first, folks. An actual client of Hinge is telling you how important it is to not just focus on talking on yourself. I can't tell you, Dawn, how many times we get into an initial conversation. We're starting strategic engagements with our clients. They just really struggle with that. There's a place and a time to talk about your organization, and it's your culture and employee page. It is not in your newsletter.
100%.
I love it. That was such an excellent perspective, Dawn. I'm glad you interrupted Joe.
Do that at any time.
All right, Joe, you finished the second round for us, and then we're going to get into our lightning rounds because we've been very thorough with our explanations so far. We're going
That's
to have to speed
Austin's
it up
way
here.
of saying that we're taking too long.
We're running out of time.
I want to talk about spending money, something I'm unfortunately very good at, but something that I think is becoming more and more important in professional services. Hinge wrote a book called Spiraling Up. You may have heard that name before, 10, 15 years ago at this point. It's been a long time. And in that book is very much kind of the dawn of digital marketing for professional services organizations. And there were ways and tactics that helped these groups grow faster by spending actually less money. The era of easy growth is dead. And that has been a topic on this podcast and as well as our content for quite some time. And one of the most striking figures that stood out in Hinge's high growth study was how the marketing percentage of high growth organizations was more than 2 times their no growth and low growth firms. Frankly, high growth organizations are buying attention. And one of the ways that organizations can do that is through digital advertising. And while that, as recent as 5 or 6 years ago, was not necessarily a good bang for your buck investment for most professional services firms, and I'm not talking about the big fours and the large guys that can pay for it. Nowadays, when you are trying to stand out in your specific niche, and that is the big key here, if you are trying to stand out in what truly differentiates yourself, getting yourself to the top of the list on Google is imperative. And it's also important for you to defend your own brand. Nowadays, a lot of organizations are finding themselves below the fold, if you will, in search because larger companies are buying branded keywords. You have to sometimes even just defend your own name. And that is why nowadays in professional services, an investment in digital advertising, when done strategically, is imperative for a marketing growth strategy.
Well said. And
Fight
so
me
just
on
to
it.
clarify, you're choosing pay-per-click advertising because I think we have another option on here for LinkedIn advertising campaigns.
Yeah, I think it's
Social media
everything but
advertising.
social. Yeah, well, I mean, social is important too, but I think I'm only allowed to pick one. So I'm going to go with digital ads as a whole and not just PPC, but also focusing on things like banner and retargeting and so forth.
I think you made the point well there that we've entered into a period of time where it's just more crowded. There's more people doing more digital marketing. And with that increase in volume, you already said it really well. The high growth firms are spending more. And this is the kind of thing that they're doing. They're doing more pay-per-click ads. They're doing more LinkedIn campaigns. When they show up to a conference or an event, they're not picking the bronze package. They're picking the gold package. Like those high growth, that's exactly what's happening. It's that these companies are jumping in and spending more for the visibility.
That's right.
It's what's needed to really capture people's attention. Dawn, what's your perspective on that? Is that when our research came out, was that surprising to you that there's such a correlation between the companies growing faster and the companies that are spending more on marketing?
I mean, the correlation makes sense, right? I think in any area of life, you have to invest in order to see fruit from that area. So whether it's time, money, et cetera. So I think that correlation or even causal relationship isn't surprising to me at all. I will say that something that I've seen here is that a lot of times paid is viewed as like the silver bullet. You don't need to have a concrete strategy. You don't need to have a strong organic strategy. You don't need to be oriented around client issues. You just need to throw some money at the problem and that's going to solve it. And I think we all know that that's not the case. What Joe is talking about is so crucial, but it is downstream of a well-informed strategy, a strong organic strategy. And this is just an amplification of an entire engine that's well-designed, well-constructed, and aligned with client issues.
Brilliant. Yep. Straight up.
Brilliant.
You can't, there's no hack. I think Austin said it correctly. If you think that paid is going to be your growth hack, that's incorrect. It needs to be a piece of your larger approach. Like offering product demos.
Hearing Dawn say that makes me want to retract what I said about newsletters being where the biggest discrepancy is in quality. Actually, pay-per-click campaigns, we definitely see a lot of people stand those up and just try to see if it's going to work without considering how good your landing page is going to be. What are we trying to run ads for? The strategy and all the things you mentioned. Yeah, exactly. There could be a big gap. Google's not going to stop you. They will take your money every time. You plug the credit card in there, it will say, cool, let's go.
Yeah, great
idea.
idea.
If your ads are performing or not. All right. Round 3 and 4, we're going to move a little bit quicker so that we can give some time to see who's got the best mountain. Dawn, you're back up, top of the lineup. What's next?
Yeah, so my third choice here is going to be case studies. I think in professional services, especially, case studies are incredibly powerful. They are proof points, and in my experience, they work at every phase of the funnel. Similar to what we talked about with that kind of mirror moment that clients have when they see a demonstration. This is kind of like a demonstration light, right? It's in a slightly different context, but it's actually showing a client, hey, this is what we can do. And they see themselves in your story. They see themselves in your value proposition. So case studies, I think, are indispensable when it comes to professional services marketing.
Well said. Mary Blanche, what's your next pick?
Okay, so for my third pick, I'm going to go with marketing partnerships with other organizations. And that's really because we at Hinge, we've had such success in our own partnerships. And we know that the high growth firms, they're not going it alone. They have co-branded educational events. They're co-branding research projects. They're co-authoring blogs. So, it really is a highly efficient way to access new and already pre-qualified leads.
It's hard enough on your own, so you might as well lean on a friend. I completely agree. It's going to become more and more important too, especially as large language models take a hold of insights and information for one group from other locations. So you show up on other people's websites, reviews, things along those lines, you're going to be in a good shape. And I just said my crutch word. I made it 46 minutes into this podcast. Oh, all right.
I was going to congratulate you after.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
All right, I'm next on the board, and I feel like it would be a shame if I didn't bring up the SEO and GEO topic that I have been rampaging about over the last 3 months. This is an area in professional services marketing that is changing faster than any other space. And I think that early adopters of especially trying to understand AI search, get in front of it. To do this tactic really well, it already assumes that you're creating your own kind of website content, thought leadership content. It also probably assumes that you're doing a degree of earned media and outreach and press releases, influencing AI engines, doing all the kinds of things that we talked about on our last episode with Leah from Brandy. There's a whole lot of marketing tactics that come behind that. But right now, I think people that are focused and paying attention to this GEO space, they are going to reach a degree of success that is going to make a lot of people feel left behind in a couple of years as the trend continues to move in the direction of AI search. And soon it's just going to become invisible. Think about how outdated something like a Yellow Pages physical book feels to you. I don't think it's going to be that long before we think of search engines like that and kind of the traditional, like Google search, Ask Jeeves, to go back to that one.
Oh my gosh, what a throwback.
Think about how old that sounds to you, but that is how old the current model of Google search is going to feel to us, because AI is going to get so good at answering our questions and making product recommendations and giving us answers. So I just think that it's imperative that everybody's paying attention to this at a minimum. Joe, next pick.
So it's interesting. You mentioned something, and I think this is probably might go over as a confusing one, but you referenced Yellow Pages, right? Like a place where all information was. For a very long time, people went to their white pages, their yellow pages, those big books. And then the internet took over, 15, 20 years ago, and people started creating directories online, digital directories. And a lot of times in professional services, folks looked at that as, well, that's a money grab to just try to get my name on some sort of form or some sort of list. And then GEO, LLM, and all these AI elements came to become more and more important. And suddenly, just having your keywords associated with your website isn't enough anymore. And that trend is going to continue. So now we have these authoritative websites like Clutch, G2, Crunchbase, and even review sites like Glassdoor, which of course can be the bane of many professional organizations. Having insights and information on organizations there suddenly is showing up in ChatGPT. It's showing up in Gemini and Claude and so forth. Being able to have your messages or messages that somebody wrote about you front and center on these sites is now an extremely important factor in GEO, or how we're being found. So I'm going to go with directory listings, which Austin already put on the screen, because he wants me to just move on quickly.
You're done.
No,
You're
you
done.
said it. The words directory listings
Did I
came out
say
of your
it?
mouth. Yeah.
I just, I black out. I'm just going to pontification mode, and I don't even realize what I'm saying.
It's definitely something under the context of what we talked about with GEO, and customer reviews are huge. When someone asks an AI engine, who's better, this firm or that firm, AI is going to give them an answer, right?
Yeah.
And we can either take control of those narratives by soliciting high quality, trusted customer reviews and steering the direction of kind of how people talk about our company, or we can just ignore this and let AI make something up. Those seem like the two options right now. All right, last round. Dawn, you've got your mountain of marketing masterclass here. Speaking at conferences, gated content, case studies. What's the last one you do to round it out?
Yeah, so my final pick is going to be providing free assessments. So I think this is the moment where you take all of the value that you've been telling clients you provide, and you actually provide it. And it gives you an opportunity to apply what they've seen in your case studies, what they've seen in your content directly to their unique issue, their unique challenge, their unique situation. And it goes so far in building that trust connection with a potential client that I think it's invaluable when it comes to working within professional services, for sure.
Many of the reasons what I was tying back to my live services and demo thing, Dawn. So yeah, absolutely. It's an imperative piece, and more important now than ever when people are trying to make a decision on who to trust at the last step of the journey.
All right, Mary Blanche.
I have to have some sort of networking conference. So I'm going to go with hosting a conference or event.
Oh,
This is the first year that hosting an event broke into our top 10 list. So high growth firms are no longer just participating in the industry conversations. They're starting to create those platforms where those conversations are happening. So if you're the company that's owning the venue, you're really positioning your firm as the definitive authority and really that central hub for your target audience.
Mary Blanche, I would agree with this. I think that especially when you are a convener within your industry of some of the top thinkers, some of the top leaders, it goes such a long way towards positioning yourself as that strategic partner and being a place where people look to hear from their peers, to hear from other people that are facing some of the same challenges and issues. So this, I think, is a very powerful tactic.
I'm looking at Mary Blanche's 4 right now and how they could potentially all tie together. And I'm seeing the makings of a really solid strategy. The partnership angle here could also be extremely important. If we're leaning on folks to be able to help us put those butts in seats at said conference or said event, having partners and centering it around, for example, original research, not to make your argument for you, Mary Blanche, but Austin and I and these last picks to see if we can take you down.
The thing that everyone should know about hosting a conference or an event, this was the first year this was included in the high growth study. And on the list of like techniques that were at the top of marketing impact, it was at the very top. And in some industries, it was at the top. It's clear that there has been a pendulum swing in the digital to traditional marketing space where people are finding a lot of value and impact by being in person, networking. And if you can control that narrative, control that stage, and be the person or the group inviting people into that space, I think it's excellent. For all the same reasons I just mentioned, I have to have something that's like in person. I can't just do the digital marketing techniques and keep it there. I need to bring some balance to the force. And so I'm going to say networking at conferences. So I can't be the speaker here. That was our first pick. That I will go with networking at conferences. I think it's an important component to professional services marketing. And you got to get out there and be in person. You got to meet people. You got to position your people to go out there and build relationships. And I think it's just, you go back to the foundations of professional services marketing. So much of it is built in these spaces and in these encounters where you're meeting people at events. So I'm going to go with the networking piece. Joe, what are you going to go with?
I got a comment, though. This one makes perfect sense for you, Austin. After watching you work the floor at the Association of County Marketers event last year, the summit event, the Austin McNair was certainly someone who was having quite a group of people surrounding him throughout that event. I've rarely gone to an event like this because my whole career is based on this type of thing, where I was extremely second fiddle. Austin was rocking that floor, and it makes perfect sense why
standing in line to talk to him.
People were there was a line.
They literally were.
This is a lie. This is such an exaggeration.
Living legend.
Yes, keep it going. Keep it going.
We are all in your presence. Okay, last pick. And if I didn't pick this topic, I wouldn't be promoting what the whole purpose behind creating content like this in the form of a podcast and why it's so important. So Hinge launched our original podcast, The Visible Expert, a few years ago, and it was instantly a way for us to connect with leaders, thought leaders in the marketplace, speaking to why their experience was super important and valuable. It still resonates. It still gets downloads, even after, COVID kind of put a fork in some of the ability to do in-person podcast recordings. Well, we revived podcasting as an approach for Hinge in this last year, and we actually have just now gone past the 1-year mark in producing content in the form of podcast and video. What we have seen, and I have the data to prove this, and John, you can just put a screenshot on, just throw the screenshot, is just a continuous upward trajectory of interactions, of downloads of our content from links that we put in it. Time on videos increasing as we just continue to grow visibility and having awesome and fun discussions like this one we've had today. So podcasting is a absolute vehicle of growth for organizations. Hinge is a living example of that. I was in a sales call yesterday, and the absolute first thing that the gentleman said was, "I just finished watching your podcast on GEO. Holy shit." I did not understand what that meant. And now suddenly I've got this insight from somebody who literally does this for a living, and a conversation about branding. This guy's interested in having us lead a rebrand for his government contracting company. We spent 15 minutes talking about GEO. So there is avenues to connecting your insights in the form of something that's truly authentic, a podcast. And I think more professional services organizations are going to find that this is a easy way, a hack, if you will, to get your experts front and center.
Excellent stuff. Well, I think we now turn it over to the audience. Leave a comment. Whose mountain of marketing do you love the most? We've got Dawn with speaking at conferences, gated content, case studies, and consultations. Super well balanced, very strong. Mary Blanche, similarly, with a LinkedIn social strategy, original research, marketing partnerships, and hosting a conference. A lot of synergy there. I went with video content, email, newsletter, SEO, GEO, and networking. And then Joe went with live demos, digital ads, directory listings, and podcasting. So a lot of diversity there within his and within mine. I know that Dawn is not going to accept participation trophies if I just look at all of these and say, oh man,
you're all winners.
They're all winners. So I will throw it to you guys. I mean, which of these four do you gravitate towards?
So to me, I think the most well-rounded are Dawn and Austin's. For me, I'm giving it to Dawn on this one. I really love the tie-in with speaking at conferences and the consultations. And that's because every single target audience and vertical that you have, you don't necessarily have anyone you can partner with or a place that you can go network. And so when you compare the getting in front of people at conferences with consultations, you're really able to hit your full spectrum of an audience. And then gated content, case studies, like check. So I'm giving the win to Dawn on this one.
All right, one win for Dawn. Joe.
Do I get to just vote for myself?
You can vote for yourself.
I knew she was going to vote for herself, so I was going to let Joe go
yes,
next.
I'm
Joe,
awesome.
You have
2 votes for Dawn.
I am unashamedly, obviously biased, but I do think that my mountain is well balanced and strong, just as Mary Blanche said. Although I do want to say that I agree with Joe's comments earlier about Mary Blanche's pillar as well. Yeah. I think, she took a number of the items that were on my list as we were sort of arch nemesis throughout this game. I think the primary research for sure is just absolutely crucial, and coupled with the rest of the items that she has in her ecosystem, I think would be a very strong program.
Yeah. I think the ladies definitely have the 2 strongest on this board. It's the most balanced, especially for professional services. And that kind of is our focus, professional services marketing branding agency. You can find us at hingemarketing.com. But yeah, I mean, looking at the board, I still lean towards Mary Blanche, like I was saying last time or a few minutes ago. And the biggest reason is that connection between original research partnerships and hosting conferences. I think that is in a modern professional services blend. If you can truly create that type of ecosystem, that's really going to help win the day. I look at my list and I'm like, man, am I selling like Salesforce or something? Because I look like the most tech bro-y repertoire of all time, which I guess is cool if I lived in the Silicon Valley and was starting my startup. But unfortunately, I live in the Mid-Atlantic and I talk about marketing and branding. So I'll take the L in this one, a reoccurring theme in this podcast.
What about you, Austin?
But Joe, who tips the scale there between Dawn and Mary Blanche?
I said Mary Blanche. Yeah, I think Mary Blanche has it, but they're both the strongest by far.
Okay, well, I agree. I think they had the strongest ones. I was going to tip the scale towards Dawn because
tie.
Looking at the data, we have a historical track record, especially like from the gate. Her starting off with speaking at targeted conferences, the consultations and assessments. Case studies, I say, especially for folks who are in the consulting space, case studies have an outsized importance for that industry. So yeah, I took the scale in that direction, which leaves us with a 2-2 tie. Dawn, are you
I have an idea.
Okay with tying?
No, I think Dawn won. She gave me.
I voted for myself.
She voted for herself, winner.
Oh, she voted for herself. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Mary Blanche picked Dawn as well.
So here's how it goes.
She was trying to be modest, and she said yours was good, Austin, and was frankly, it's not as good as her own.
Yeah. So Dawn takes first. I take second. Austin got my second vote, so he's third. And Joe, once again, taking that last seat.
Well-earned L, Joe. Well done.
Well, at least
I'm about to change my vote to Joe.
Your day will come.
No sympathy votes allowed, Austin. Sorry.
It's that Simpsons meme where he walks out with the "at least you tried" cake.
Yeah, that's you.
I have a great idea. I think we're going to take the Rushmores and we're going to bring it to socials. We'll put up some polls and we'll let the followers of Spiraling Up and other avenues, if you want to throw it up on your profiles, we can see who the mob thinks was the winner.
All right. I love that.
Very on point, though, that the ladies beat the white men, given that this is a Rushmore theme. I kept it on theme. We kept it on brand. Well done theme.
I get the participation award of looking as good as I did on that mountain.
That's fantastic. Well, Dawn, it has been such a pleasure having you on the Spiraling Up podcast. Where can people learn more about you and where can they learn more about Vertex?
Thank you so much for having me. It was a delight, as always, to hang out with all of you. I would love to do it again at some point, but only if I win again. Otherwise, I'm not coming, of course. So you can find me everywhere, LinkedIn at /Dawn Hancock. I'm the one and only, so you can find me there. And for Vertex, you can find us at vertexeng.com. We are going to be changing that soon, but for now, that is where you can find us.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we had a blast, and thank you to all of our listeners. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you like the video, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening, leave us a rating. Everything helps propel our podcast forward. Keep getting great guests like Dawn to come on and speak with us, play games with us. We're going to keep it going this year. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.